Assalamu alaikum, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. The act of balancing our hormones as women can be a very challenging and elusive and frustrating thing because many of us, even though we're trying our best to remain healthy, there is always something going on in our lives that is constantly pushing us out of the boundaries of this quote-unquote balance of our hormones. So even though we're trying our best, we do find ourselves wondering, what could I be possibly missing? And the thing is that we may not be missing anything. It's just that the constant challenge is we are stressed from work, school, business, life in general. We may have eaten a particular food that maybe it was a cheat meal that didn't sit well within our stomachs, or maybe we're traveling and we're not eating the way we normally eat, or maybe we are struggling to eat the right foods. We could have a surplus of food and we're just kind of grasping at things we think might be good for our bodies, or we may be in a food desert, or maybe struggling to eat enough food, eat the right foods, because we may not have access to particular foods that are nourishing and good for us. And then there's also illness. We could have become ill at one particular point and that knocked our balance of hormones out of whack. And when we have these imbalances of hormones, they could display themselves in many different ways, or they can show up in our lives in many different ways. They could look like acne on our skin. It could be something like an illness, as I mentioned before. It could also be weight gain, which I know a lot of us women, if we are over 35, over 40, entering perimenopause, that is something that we might be struggling with. It's like, this weight gain is coming out of nowhere. I can't lose the weight. And so what is it that I can be doing differently so that I'm feeling better and healthier? Understand, there are over 50 hormones that our body uses and creates. Some of these hormones can affect other hormones down the line. And one of the things I want to express to you as a woman, to you all as women, is that it's better for you to understand these hormones now so that you can recognize when these shifts might occur, so that you can course correct and do your best to get back on track. Now, there's a lot of information on the internet, so I do ask that you do your due diligence when you're researching. But today I do want to provide you with an overall high-level look at several of the major hormones within our bodies that we should be paying attention to, and more importantly, the things we need to be doing in order to make sure we are balancing our hormones if we notice that they're not balanced. The best way to understand if your hormones are not balanced is to get a test. Not everybody is going to get a test, especially if you are perhaps outside of your annual wellness checkup, or you don't have access, or you just feel like maybe there's something you should be doing differently that can help you. But when you do recognize these things, this is when you need to take action, as I mentioned before. So even though there are over 50 hormones in our bodies that we use, that we create, I want to dive into 7 particular hormones that I want you to know about. But before we dive in, I want to welcome you to the channel. My name is Khadija. I am a licensed pharmacist in the United States, and on my channel I talk about all things health and wellness related, specifically for women who are in their perimenopause, menopause state of life. But all women are welcome here, and I think everyone can benefit from the information I provide in these videos. So if this is something that is of interest to you, please keep watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So first on the list is thyroid hormone, T3 and T4. Thyroid hormone is important because it helps us regulate our metabolism, our energy levels, as well as our body temperature. So when our thyroid levels are out of balance, we either have weight gain or weight loss. And most of the time, if you're seeing a general practitioner, they might recommend you try thyroid medication, or they might recommend you try lifestyle changes, which I'll be getting into later in the video. The second hormone on our list is cortisol. So cortisol is popularly known as our stress hormone. Cortisol helps the body respond to stress. It regulates metabolism and controls blood sugar levels. If we are chronically stressed, this can disrupt sleep, mess with our body fat percentage, as well as cause anxiety and depression. Next on the list is insulin. Now, insulin helps us regulate our blood sugar levels. Insulin is a hormone that helps the body take in excess sugar in the body, in which it becomes stored and used for later activity or energy when we need it. Insulin resistance can increase with age, and when that happens, you become prone to pre-diabetes and diabetes. So it's going to be important for you to really understand not only if your insulin hormones are working well, if your insulin hormone is working well. In most cases, a practitioner will recommend you get an A1C or a blood sugar or blood glucose test to determine how much sugar is available in your bloodstream and if it is being taken in by the insulin hormone. And so that's going to be something important you really want to understand, especially as we age, as I mentioned before. Another hormone that's important for us to know is DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone. This particular hormone is a precursor hormone that the body converts into estrogen and testosterone. It supports immune function, mood, energy levels. Levels of DHEA decline with age, and so of course that is going to disrupt other hormones down the line, and it also disrupts our well-being. Another hormone that's important for us to know is estrogen. You might hear a lot about estrogen as perimenopausal, menopausal women as one of the major hormones in our bodies that we need for a lot of things, including our brain health, our bone health, our muscles, and our heart. Estrogen regulates our menstrual cycles. It maintains the bone density and affects mood and skin. Levels can fluctuate during perimenopause, leading to symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats and mood swings. Low estrogen, as I mentioned, can also increase our risk of osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease. Another important hormone we need to be aware of is progesterone. Progesterone works hand in hand with estrogen for things like our menstrual cycles, but it also has a calming effect on our brain. Some of you women watching may have been prescribed progesterone because it might help you sleep a little better at night if things like magnesium or melatonin haven't worked for you. Just throwing it out there, this is not, I would say, standard treatment, but when you enter the perimenopause and menopause phase of your life, you may notice that this becomes a more pronounced thing is for women to try progesterone to help them with rest and sleep. As we age, we know that progesterone also declines along with estrogen and DHEA and insulin. So it's going to be important for us to recognize, because with low progesterone, we will have irregular menstrual cycles, which can wreak havoc for a lot of women as we get older. And we also have issues like mood swings and sleep disturbances. And last but not least on the list, testosterone. Now, testosterone, you might be thinking, oh, this is a male hormone, but both women and men have testosterone. And testosterone is really important for women, especially as we age. Testosterone supports libido, muscle mass, and energy levels. Levels of testosterone decline with age, and we need to be very cautious and aware of this as well, because it leads to fatigue and muscle weakness. So I'm not going to get into the particular signs of each hormone in this particular video. If you would like that, just let me know in the comments. But what I'd rather do is focus on the steps, the actions, the things that we can do as women to help us find balance in these hormones. It's an ongoing journey. There are going to be things, as I mentioned before, that knock us off and that wreak havoc and that cause us to have some disruption. That's going to happen. That is normal. But what's also normal is implementing things that can help us find ways to correct the imbalances sooner rather than later, so as soon as possible, and not to be too overwhelmed. So I want us to implement what we can, how we can. So what I'm saying is, I want us to talk about things that we should be doing on a regular basis that can help us along the way, especially as we age and get over the age of 40. 40 is when a lot of us are noticing a lot of changes in our bodies. And for some of you, it's earlier than that, and that's okay. What we just need to do is take action now and understand how our bodies are working at this particular stage in our lives. So the first thing on the list of things you can do is get adequate sleep. Professionals and subject matter experts believe that 7 to 9 hours of sleep for an adult is adequate. So we're not only talking about sleep, we're also talking about things you're going to do ahead of time that can get you to that adequate sleep, such as turning off all monitors, screens, digital equipment 1 hour before you go to bed. It also includes not drinking any caffeine 6 hours before you go to bed, as well as using blackout curtains or a cooler room environment that can help you get into that deep sleep, which is what we need as women. Sometimes it's difficult if we're getting up to use the bathroom 3-4 times at night. As much as you can, try to implement the things that I mentioned so that you can get that adequate sleep. With adequate sleep, I did talk about progesterone and women trying progesterone because of the inability to get their levels high enough to get that sleep. And then I also talked about magnesium tartrate, as well as melatonin. These are some of the things that are used for women. Not everything is standard protocol, as I mentioned earlier, but these are just some things you should consider. Now, the second thing on the list is a healthy diet. We hear this a lot. We hear a lot of harping on healthy diet, eating well, eating for our bodies, eating our macro and micronutrients that are going to keep us healthy for as long as possible, especially as we enter our elder years. And don't freak out when I say elder years, but do understand that we're getting older, and before you know it, you will hit 40, 45, 50. So it's good to take charge now and understand how your body works. And starting with the diet is very crucial and important. So eating things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, healthy fats, foods like soy or flaxseed that are phytoestrogens, they can help balance estrogens. Now, it's important to limit processed, fatty, sugary foods. These are things you know, but sometimes it's hard. So I recommend you start with alternatives. I don't want to say start slowly, but don't overwhelm yourself and go cold turkey on everything. Of course, unless it's required and your doctor suggests you go cold turkey because your health is at risk. But try and gradually remove and eliminate bad things from your diet while implementing good things. And that way you can have a balance as you're shifting your habit, you're shifting your diet, you're shifting things so that they will help you along the way and you feel healthy, you feel good. Let me tell you something. Try to do this. And I heard this from a friend a long time ago. Eat healthy 6 days a week and then eat your cheat meal, let's say on a Sunday. Come back on Monday and tell me how you feel after you ate that cheat meal. Was it worth it? Did it satisfy your need? So these are things that you're going to want to try. You're going to want to experiment. You're going to want to read, do your research. But I'm certain that if you implemented these habits, you will feel better about yourself. And not only that, you will start to see a shift in how you feel and how, your body feels. And that means you are getting towards a more equilibrium state with your hormones. Now, the third thing on the list is exercise and physical activity. You hear this again, but I have to remind you that as we get older, there are things you're going to want to do for your bone, your heart, and your muscle health. So the three main areas where we're finding women of a certain age are struggling. Cardiovascular disease is such a devastating disease, and Black women experience cardiovascular disease more than any other women in the world. And so it's like I believe the statistic is 2 out of 3 Black women have some type of cardiovascular disease if you are over the age of 20. If that doesn't shock you, I don't know what does. So Black women, if you're listening to me, if you hear me, please start taking your exercise and physical activity along with your diet more seriously so that you can have health, longevity, and peace. Those are 3 things I really wish every woman has, but I'm talking to you if you're watching this. Health, longevity, peace, joy, and try your best to get your physical activity in shape. You might start with walking, you might start with weightlifting or resistance training, but it's important to do something initially and then gradually increase from there. So if you want a mix of aerobic training, strength training, flexibility, mobility, agility, all these things are going to help us down the line. And so it's going to be important to get a mixed bag of everything. But again, start slow, start with one thing, and then gradually increase from there. The first thing on the list we need to be careful and pay attention to is our supplements. Now, supplements aren't a waste of money, especially if you're having a hard time getting in adequate nutrition from food sources. And I mentioned earlier, some of us don't know what to eat. We don't know the right foods to eat. We're eating the wrong foods, or we're in a food desert. We don't have access to the right foods. And so supplements might be an option for you. Supplements are just what they are. They are called supplements for a reason, because they exist to supplement your food, your your diet and your exercise routines. And they also are there to supplement when things are not going as they should be going with the illness and the stress, etc., etc. The things you could consider are omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, as I mentioned before, vitamin D, which is very important for us. And what I do suggest you do is I do suggest, if you can, consult with a healthcare provider to see what supplements might be best for you, maybe based on your lab levels, maybe based on an overall evaluation of what you're eating, how you're exercising, how you're feeling. Everything is connected, and so what you need to do along with your healthcare provider is to determine the best thing for you to start out with. Some of the popular supplements or herbal medications for women include black cohosh or red clover. I talked about red clover in a previous video, which I will link below, and I can also talk about black cohosh again in a future video because I've talked about it in a previous video before. But all of these things, and I don't want you to become overwhelmed, but a lot of these things are going to be something that you might be interested in taking. These things might actually help you along with your journey of balancing your hormones. And the fifth on the list is your spiritual health and mental health. Prayer and meditation are effective at reducing stress. So if you don't already have a prayer or meditation routine built into your day, not your week, but your day, I'm going to encourage you to do that. Before you wake up, or I should say after you wake up, or set a specific time for you. If you're on a particular time schedule like me, I have to wake up for Fajr or Tahajjud, so you have to set your alarm and wake up and pray and implement that into your life. And just understand that the purpose is not only for worship, but for also reducing stress, improving your mental health, and trying your best to balance your hormones at the end of the day. Because what prayer and meditation do, they help you with your stress levels. They help reduce cortisol in your body. It's going to be important for you to get that adequate sleep, to sleep on time, to reduce screen time so that you can get that adequate sleep, especially if you're going to be waking up early for Fajr, for example, like me. Otherwise, please try and do your best to implement prayer and meditation. It could be in the morning. You could take a break in the afternoon during work or school, or you can do it at night before you sleep. Just try to do something so that you can get your hormones in check and in balance. And it can help your overall mental health, your spiritual health, and your health overall. Because those are really important for us as women with all the things going on in our lives. It's our mental and our spiritual health. So there are other things that I didn't mention in this video. There are a lot of things we can do, but I wanted to give you 5 high-level things we should start doing now. But remember, as we're going along on this journey, please remember to get your regular checkups, stay hydrated, even journal the things you want to change, if you're seeing changes, if you're not seeing changes, what they could be. And it's going to be really important for you to not be too hard on yourself. Take it one day at a time, implement things as you can. Don't bombard yourself. However, work closely with your healthcare provider, a trusted healthcare provider, so that you can implement the things that are going to be beneficial and good for you in the long run. And again, try and do your due diligence. Try to read more, try to understand more, try to learn more about your body, especially as you age. What are some of the things you're going to need to pay attention to? One of the things I have done for you is create a free PDF, Pause and Prepare, which talks about some of the things you can do as you're aging to prepare your heart, your bone, your brain, and your muscle health for perimenopause and menopause. I will leave a link in this description of this video. It's also left as a link in my bio on the channel. And this is something that I want you to just read, understand, take a look at it, try to know if these things are already being impacted and what you can do to help yourself along the way. Because just remember, as we're getting older, as we enter our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, everything we do now to prepare, we're going to appreciate it as we're older. We're going to look back and say, oh, thank God that I worked on myself as early as I could, so that I am prepared for my older years, and that I'm living as healthy as I possibly can. And even if you are in your 50s and 60s and you haven't gotten to the place where you wanted to be yet, please continue. Keep going, because your 70-year-old self, your 80-year-old self is still going to look back and say, yes, I tried it. So please know that it's not too late. Keep going, continue, and do your best to live in peace, harmony, health, happiness, joy, and longevity. I hope that the information in this video has been beneficial. Let me know if there is something you want me to talk about more in detail, and I'll be happy to create a video on that. So I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.